everybody, welcome to Wild Boy Movies, the place to talk movies, and today we're going to be reviewing Fantastic Four, the 2015 reboot of Marvel's First Family. Right now I'm going to have some information up on screen for you to read, like director, runtime, and PAA rating. All of that will be up on screen for you to read right now. But be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below your thoughts on 2015's Fantastic Four. But without further ado, let's get right into the pros. Alright, starting off, I do like that this movie went ahead and took a bit of a darker and more serious approach to this movie, unlike the earlier Fantastic Four movies from the early 2000s, where they kind of like were lighthearted and fun, where this movie went in a more darker, serious route and kind of treated like the Fantastic Four getting their powers as sort of like a horrible situation. In terms of like a body horror aesthetic, at least that's what I got from like the scene of Reed Richards going through the rubble after they get their powers, and we see Reed is struggling through like that, and we see Johnny on fire and Ben covered in rocks and Reed stretching. That kind of felt like a horror-esque situation, and yeah, I did like that they were attempting to make this movie a bit more darker and more serious in comparison to like the previous incarnation. I also will say that the VFX in this movie do look pretty good, and that is also in comparison to like some of the VFX shots that we've gotten in like the last couple of years, primarily in movies like The Flash or Thor Love and Thunder. I think the CG in here for a movie back in 2015, it was some pretty good looking CGI, and there are like some good looking shots in here, but on the contrary, you do get like one odd scene of like Reed Richards in like the forest where that you could obviously tell it was in front of a green screen, but other than that, the CG in here looked pretty good. And on an extension of the CGI in this movie, this might be a hot take, but I do like the things designed in this movie. I mean, I do like it for it being the first ever CGI all for the Thing, because the last thing that we got in the early 2000 movies was all a practical effect. This right here is all CGI. And I do like the design that they chose for this movie. The only thing is that they really should have added pants to the Thing, just because, yeah, that is really my only gripe with this Thing design, is that he doesn't have pants. Other than that, I do like that Thing design that they went ahead and made for this movie. But yeah, the one that we are going to be getting with Edward Moss Bacharach in First Steps in the MCU is gotta be the best thing that we got. But this one right here for the 2015 movie was pretty good. But really, that is all the pros that I have for this movie. Now, at first watching this movie, I thought that this would end up being like in the high 60s, low 70s in terms of how I rate movies here on this YouTube channel. But as the movie continued on, and even after I finished watching the movie, a lot of the cons were sticking out that made me really lower my score of the movie over time. So let's get right into those cons. Alright, I gotta start off the cons with talking about the origin, because yeah, they completely changed the origin of the Fantastic Four in this movie. They completely got rid of the astronaut story on how they got their powers, but rather drew like a quantum interdimensional portal to takes them to a place called Planet Zero, and that's where they get their power. Now, I wouldn't have mind the origin change if Planet Zero was actually the negative zone, because that is a pretty well-known thing with the Fantastic Four, and it probably would have been believable that the negative zone gave the Fantastic Four their powers, but no, they did not use the negative zone. They used an original place, Planet Zero, and that's how they got their powers. Now, yeah, I do think that Planet Zero visually does look pretty good, but I just didn't like how they just made up a new origin that completely got rid of the astronauts or didn't even involve the negative zone at all. Also, I did not like how they went ahead and had like a 1 year time jump in this movie from the team getting their powers and Reed escaping, which I will elaborate later, all the way to how all the way to Harvey and like the Pentagon, Tim Blake Nelson's character, talking about the incident involved with this interdimensional portal and how these four individuals got their powers. Like, I would have wanted to see the team, him and these characters, learn to use their powers, how to control them, instead of just jumping 1 year and we get to see on CCTV footage of the thing doing missions for the government. Like, that is another thing I want to complain about. I wanted to see more action sequences in this movie, and we barely even got any. The really only big action sequence in this movie is towards the final battle of the Fantastic Four versus Doctor Doom, and we don't really get that much. I know we got a small battle between Thing and Reed Richards, but that kind of was it. There was some shots in the trailer of the Thing doing some missions of the government, like jumping out of a plane and onto like a military base. Like, they should have kept that in the movie instead of cutting it and just barely have any action sequences. But with this one being an origin story for this new version of the Fantastic Four, I would want to see these characters learn how to control their powers and how to use them properly, but we don't get that at all. We get that 1 year time jump, and that's really it. We don't really see how these characters learn how to use their powers well, but that is just something that they completely fumbled on. Also, I wasn't a fan of the government using these Fantastic Four members for their own missions. Like, that kind of felt a bit off to me, especially since I believe there were plans for this Fantastic Four movie to be set in the same universe as the X-Men movies with Hugh Jackman, or even the prequels with James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. So in this world, there are all superpowered individuals, mutants, that do exist. And if this movie, Fantastic Four, was to connect like they were originally going to plan, it wouldn't make sense why these four would be the ones that the government wants to use for their missions instead of going to the Professor X mansion and enlisting some mutants. Like, that just made no sense to me. But they did not connect this Fantastic Four movie to the Fox X-Men movie, so there's that. But I still kind of didn't like that the Fantastic Four were kind of used as weapons by the military. That kind of was something that I wasn't a fan of for this Fantastic Four movie. But the last thing I'm gonna go ahead and talk about here with this movie is Victor Von Doom, the main villain of this movie, because not only did I not like the Doctor Doom design in this movie, I thought it was alright at best, but I just did not like how they used the character of Doctor Doom in this movie. Like, in the comics, Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom are like sworn enemies. Like, they have long history with one another. In this movie, they only have like a few days worth of history together, and I just didn't like that. I also didn't like how much screen time of Doctor Doom was used in this movie. Like, we see him before the Fantastic Four get their powers and go into Planet Zero, but once that incident happens where the Fantastic Four get their powers and Victor Von Doom is stranded on Planet Zero, we cut a year and we do not see him towards like the third act whenever they are redoing the Quantum Gate 2 and they find Victor on Planet Zero and bring him back, and then Victor decides, yeah, I'm gonna go back to Planet Zero and bring the Earth to Planet Zero. Like, I still like the motivations of Doctor Doom in this movie. And I also didn't like that they ended up killing off Doctor Doom, because this character is supposed to be a major villain for the Marvel Universe. In fact, over at the MCU, we have Doctor Doom as the big bad of this current multiverse saga for the next two Avenger movies, Doomsday and Secret Wars. But yeah, here in this Fantastic Four movie, they killed him off by throwing him into like his own portal that turns him into like I don't even know. But they essentially killed him off, and I just didn't like that because he is supposed to be like a very powerful villain for the Marvel Universe, and if they were going to continue on the Fantastic Four with this version of the team, they probably would have wanted Doctor Doom in more of those movies. What I'm saying is I didn't like how Doctor Doom was essentially just a one and done villain, and if they were to continue on this Fantastic Four universe, we probably wouldn't have gotten Doctor Doom ever again, or they probably would have heard about some random reason why Doctor Doom is still alive. But I just really didn't like the usage of Doctor Doom, how much they really didn't lean into Reed Richards and Doctor Doom's rivalry and history together, and how easily he was able to be defeated. Like, that's not honestly how Doctor Doom should be. But look, in my own opinion, this movie isn't as bad people were saying it is, like that 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. But even with that, that's still not saying a lot. And you will see in my scorecard momentarily, there are some things in here that I do like and find redeeming of this movie. But all those cons that I mentioned just hold the movie back from being decent or okay at best. But overall, this was a pretty disappointing movie, considering that I think the trailers looked pretty good for this movie. But yeah, this is one of those instances where those trailers that I did enjoy were way better than the actual movie itself. So for my scorecard, I'm gonna give Fantastic Four 2 stars, with the score out of 10 being 4.8 out of 10, with the percentage being 48%, with a grade of F, with my final verdict being how not to make a Fantastic Four movie. But that was my review of Fantastic Four 2015. Stay tuned on the channel tomorrow because I do plan on releasing my review of the 2005 Fantastic Four movie. But be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below your thoughts on 2015's Fantastic Four. And I will see you in the next video, and have a great day.